Hello world, it's Wednesday the 25th of January 2023 and we're looking at a forecast for Soaring from Worcester tomorrow, Thursday the 26th of January. Quick look at the synoptic for 2 o'clock tomorrow, the T5 for 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We see an inversion layer of nearly 6,000 feet warmed up to the mid to low 30s, a light northwesterly wind. It looks quite a nice day. Let's see what we got. Looking at cloud, this is the only cloud I could find, and it's very high and very little, and that's for 5 o'clock. So cloud won't affect our tasks tomorrow. Looking at the wind, 2 o'clock, we have a wind onto the north ridges between, let's say, 6 and 10 knots, and onto the Robertson Ridge, and further out it's a little bit stronger to the east, maybe 8 to 12 knots along the Langeberg. At 5 o'clock that wind is picked up a little, and we have a clear, that turquoisey color, 6 to 8 knots, and a little bit more on the ridges itself, quite a lot more on the east. And if we look out to the east, we see those are picked up from 10 to 14 knots. Looking at the boundary layer average wind, this is the average wind at the mid thermal height, which is a bit of a undefined concept, but it gives you a good idea of what's actually happening in the area. And as you can see, we have the wind all starts coming in from the coast south, from the south. It's comes in over the peninsula, over the Cape Flats, and then turns around into a northwester that blows into our task area, and that covers our whole task area down to about the Langeberg, where we have a second portion of this wind that's coming in, and the northwest and the southeast components meet, and they're meeting basically along the Langeberg, where you see with this blue is where the average is light, which means some of it's going northwest and some of it's going southeast, and if you add them up you get very little. Moving out to 5 o'clock, you see the same picture, but it's all gotten quite a lot stronger from the source, and the area where the two meet has moved north, so the Langeberg now is clearly in the southeast portion of this wind. Let's look at the height of critical updraft strength. If there's no cloud, I want to see if there are thermals. In the valley, we've got from 5.5 to 6,500 feet. It looks quite nice. Tilbach and Porterville ridges, let's say between 4,000 to 4.5, maybe even 5,000 in these areas. And to the east, it's lower, around Swellendam. It gets below 4,000 feet, but most of that ridge is between 4 and 6,000 feet. 5 o'clock, we can see the cooler patches appearing where this coastal wind has come in between the mountains. But to the north, we still have 4,044 over here, and on the Witzenberg the same, quite a lot more in the Worcester Valley, and then out to the east it's dropped. This blue color is now 2 to 2,500. That's that one. Next one up is 2.5 to 3, and then it follows the height of the mountains. So yep, it's a lighter in the east later, as this coastal wind is cooling everything down. Let's look at some soundings. I'll start off with Tilbach, 2 o'clock. a westerly wind, a light one, but a westerly wind blowing straight onto the Witzenberg with thermic up to 4,500 feet, which will light up the Witzenberg. 5,000 feet, still a similar pattern. Still, it's light wind, but it's a good direction and it's still good thermic. It'll still work. Porterville at 2 o'clock. Inversion's a bit lower, but the rest looks good. The wind is light, but the direction is good. At 5 o'clock, the wind has picked up a bit. It's gone southwest, closer to parallel, but the inversion is higher and everything is looking a little bit better. And to do a transition from there, that's over 4,500 feet, to transition back into the Witzenberg is not too impossible. Worcesterhoek looking good at 2 o'clock, although the winds are light. And at 5 o'clock the winds has picked up, so still good. Clanwilliam inversion just on 4,000 feet, so perhaps a bit low for the Cederberg Mountains. Looking a bit higher as you get towards 5 o'clock. Get the impression this day is going to develop a bit later in the afternoon. Claver at 2 o'clock, but at 5 o'clock, well, we'll scratch that one. We don't want to go there. Robertson at 2 o'clock. You get the southeast wind and then a wind shear and then a northwest above it, and that's at 4,500 feet. That'll make it a bit turbulent at the top of the ridge. And at 5 o'clock, this is interesting, although it looks like a clear line, that slope is not the adiabatic slope. The adiabatic slope is actually parallel to this one, so it's actually stable. There might be some leverage off the side of the mountains that enables you to climb quite high, but and it looks like we've got an inversion at quite high. In practice, that isn't an obvious place to go flying. Swellendam at 2 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock is looking quite flat. Riversdale 5 o'clock. I don't think you want to be that far east at 5 o'clock. I'll scratch that one as well. Herbertsdale, and I'm going to scratch the 5 o'clock one. So you can go east, but you don't want to be there late. Toes River, just looking quickly, there's some inland options. This is quite interesting because there's a good strong thermic layer. It's about 8,000 feet deep. Remember, the ground level is higher as you go inland, but there's no cloud, no sign of cloud. But just quickly go through these. That's 5 o'clock and it's got deeper. The inversion is higher. And something similar at Squirstian. So I'm not sure that going inland is an option, but there is some weather there if someone were to go there. The winds are light and there's this wind shear between the two air masses. Just coming back to where we started from, we have to launch at some time tomorrow, and I'm just looking at the T5 for 11 o'clock, and you can see that the wind at 11 o'clock appears to be a southeaster, a light southeaster, and a low inversion. So, not worth launching at 11 o'clock. And if we go out to 2 o'clock, the wind has gone round to northwest and the inversion is picked up. So, begs the question, do you grid on the 3-3 end of the runway or the 1-5 end of the runway? My gut feel is to go for the 3-3 end and wait for this wind to come through, because by that time it's hot enough to know that you can launch and everybody can stay up comfortably. I'm just going to look at the wind at 11 o'clock just to get an idea. You can see actually these are very light and variable winds, so what's actually happening there is a bit undefined, and I don't think I think you'll be able to launch from either end of the runway if you really wanted to. So it's something that we can look at tomorrow morning, and the contest director can make a call at some stage in the morning. I know we had a nasty outlanding, a bit of an incident today. I believe everybody is all right and there's no major problems. But there's still a glider stuck on the mountain somewhere, which is unfortunate. When you're flying tomorrow, please be careful. And yeah, remember, our object here is to have fun. Thanks. Good night.